Big news this week. Oh my gosh. Started with a frog in my. Chris and I had swallowed a frog. A cough button. I'm better. Hi.
Hello.
Big news this week.
Lots of news this week.
Yeah. Should we go finance news or should we go personal life news at the Pete the Planner Show?
I feel like the latter is more fun.
Okay. Someone on the screen right now bought a house this week. And it's not the bald guy. Kristen, congrats on a home purchase.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so here's what I'm excited about.
Okay.
We're going to talk a little bit about it
Mm-hmm.
now and probably a lot later. But I can't wait for all your Midwesternness to make it seem less exciting than it is. Okay, so I have a counter that I'm going to every time that you Midwestern the compliments around your house, you're going to hear that sound.
Oh boy.
So, Kristen, it is a palatial estate.
I knew that was coming, but it is so not.
It has got an amazing large pond.
That is true. You're right.
Very, very large.
The pond does have muskrats.
You can't do it. It is lots of acres.
Stop, because it's not lots. Okay, it's a lot if you live in it's a lot compared to where I am now, because technically I own none of the grass at the house that I live now. So you're right. Comparatively, it's a lot.
It was you were like a real estate mogul. You got in there, you won the deal.
Okay, I'm not going to downplay that. That was aggressive and it took a lot. Yes.
And you should be in that house middle of May?
Yes, middle of May.
Okay. And then when is the best time to deliver the donkeys?
The donkey needs a fence.
So it doesn't have a fence?
There's an old fence, but it is not adequate. Okay. There's an older fence that's like up in the tree line. It would not work for keeping animals off of the highway.
Sure.
So about the 4th of July.
Okay. Is there a concern that these jackasses that I'm going to buy you would fall in the pond? Is that do jackasses know to not fall in a pond?
It will be fenced off so that they nor the cattle can get in the pond.
Okay, so let's say by July 31st, okay? How many animals are living at this palatial estate?
3, 8, probably running up on a dozen.
Wow. Okay, so we've got 2 beautiful dogs.
Well, 3, because we have a farm dog too, and she'll move.
Does it come with the property?
No, she's already our dog. She just is with the cows now.
Okay, this feels like a whole episode. You've got an outdoor dog.
Right.
That doesn't live with you.
Correct.
Who does the dog live with? If you say the cows, I might end the stream. Who does the cow? Who does the dog? What's the dog's name?
The dog's name is Rizzo.
Rizzo, that's a great name. And the dog lives at
our friend's house with the cows.
Okay. Does the dog sleep inside or is it an outdoor dog?
She has a kennel inside in the shop, but she prefers to be outside.
Okay, so will Rizzo be allowed in with the AKC champions in your home at this farmhouse?
Probably not, but only because she doesn't want to be. She doesn't like to be inside. That's not fair.
Wait, how have you asked Rizzo whether she wants to hang out with the Froofy dogs?
Well, we've brought her here to this house and she hates it. She's like super anxious. She doesn't want to lay down. She wants to be outside and like eat cattle feed and stuff. She has no desire.
I'm digging this. I'm excited. So if when I deliver the donkeys, Pete and Dame, to you.
You're gonna deliver the donkeys?
Yeah, I can hitch it up to the old. I got a truck.
Yeah.
I want to be there when I'm bringing the jackasses over.
Mhm.
That'll be an exciting day. We'll have a photographer, some video.
Oh no. That would be we're gonna have a funny farm, that's for sure.
What if Dame and I ride onto your property, like we come around the corner riding. I'll be riding Dame, he'll be riding me, the donkeys, Pete and Dame, and we'll ride up. Isn't that amazing?
If you think that you can ride on a donkey, all more power to you.
You cannot ride on a donkey?
I mean, I would venture to guess that a donkey that is new to you is not gonna be one that you can just ride, but maybe.
You know everything.
I know nothing about donkeys, really.
I took my daughter car shopping last Saturday.
Oh, how did that
It
go?
was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Really?
Well, I mean, we took the pressure. We weren't going to buy one. Like, it's going to be a
Mhm.
couple months. We're just sort of calibrating, as I kept saying. We're just calibrating.
Okay. I mean, so that's fun because if you took the pressure of like, we could
Yeah.
actually buy something today off the table, then
Not a
she
chance.
just got to look around and that's fun. Is she gravitating toward anything like in particular? Like, does she care about color only or is she like calling Dame for tips?
Well, we are going to be calling Dame for tips at some
Okay.
point, but so far she likes white or black or a bright color
Okay. So
and silver. So I'm like, okay, so you don't like
all the
brownness.
colors.
Yeah, everything. Wants an SUV, like a small SUV,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to have Apple CarPlay, according to her.
Oh,
But that's just like 2018 or newer. So it's still a 7-year-old car. That's fine.
right.
Right now, we're kind of at Mazda CX-5
Okay.
or Jeep Compass.
No RAV4?
It's too expensive.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're quality. That's why they're expensive.
See
She'll
what
drive that thing
happens.
to college and then
Well,
back
she wants a
home from
family. It's a
college.
family car. It gets passed down to her smelly brother. She's going to get a Lime scooter. All right. Speaking of Lime scooters, today. Oh, by the way, I have a new camera set. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Yeah, Jan, Rick, Andy, Rick again, Cheryl, Jameson, Chris, Brian, Rochelle, David, Jen. The question was, what happened to the Junker as a starter? That's a good question. It's a good question. Somewhere there. Oh, wait, Jameson. Someone hit me, so I've been driving a Jeep Compass as a rental the last month. Not a bad first car for someone. See, thank you.
A month?
A month. Wow. Jameson, hopefully it did not damage your artistic hands
Oh my.
with all the fused glass you're making. Okay, let's start the show. Today's topic, I like this one a lot.
I do.
We have to tread a little bit lightly, but we'll acknowledge that at the beginning. Trapped at the bottom, the science behind staying broke. There was this old pull yourself up by the bootstraps and like make your American dream and do this and that. And that's great. And it's some people are definitely able to do that. The argument today is that cultural and economic elements make that harder than ever before.
Mhm.
So we still lionize people who have done that, people in their 70s who built these business empires and people in their 40s and 50s. But when we look down at the 20s and the teens to come, and you say, look what this person built, this business empire in their 70s, even if that person in the 70s didn't come from a wealthy family, which they often do, but even if they don't, why it's so much harder to climb the ladder. Does that capture what we're doing today?
I think that was a great summary.
Jameson says, long story. Clearly, look at this paragraph he put on the screen. But it was wrecked when the dealership took it out for a test drive after a warranty repair. Imagine my face when the service tech came to the waiting room to tell me they wrecked my car. Oh my gosh, I kind of want to get Jameson on the air right now.
Oh,
Jameson,
no.
any chance at all right now, you can get on the air with us. Is there any chance? And no is a perfectly good answer. I don't want to ruin your day, and I know you're probably getting a facial or something right now because I want to hear this story very badly.
That's so bad.
I can't imagine that.
No.
Because what does the person say? Okay, sure, I'm free. Okay, great. How can I get him the link? All right, let me think about this, Kristen.
Without giving it to everyone.
Okay, sure. I like you, but sure, I'm free. All right, Jameson, I'm looking for your email address.
You could just post the link in the
Oh,
chat.
got it.
Just see who joins.
I'm going to your Yahoo, pal. All right, sending you the link.
Oh my gosh. I would be devastated because when I think about if that happened to my SUV, I don't know that I would be willing to spend the money that I spent again. And so I would have to downgrade vehicles. And that would be really upsetting for me.
You know, that is so common that when you've got a car, it means a lot to you, holds a lot of value to you, and then all of a sudden someone wrecks into you, then you can't economically just move over horizontally to an equally valuable car.
Right.
You end up with something less. And sometimes then you end up underwater, and then it just becomes this weird cycle.
Yeah. And I just, I going back in time, I don't know that I would have made that purchase again, but I just keep it now because it's paid. But I don't know that I could stomach rebuying it if I had to.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jameson. Hey, Jameson.
Hi, Jameson.
This is exciting.
I'm hearing an echo. Are you getting it?
No, you're fine. You're just hearing an echo because you don't have professional broadcasting equipment.
I don't.
First off, I was going to ask if you're okay, but we know that you're fine. Is the technician okay?
Yeah. Tech is fine.
Okay.
It was somebody hit him, and fortunately, I have a dash cam in my car. I always have a dash cam in my car, so it is very clear exactly what happened and who was at fault. It was the driver who hit him. So Tech is fine. He still has his job. He was in the right of way. But 10 grand damage to my car, and it's been in the shop. I actually just got it back, but it has to go back in because it's not free.
I mean, we are going to need that dash cam footage as well, just so you know. Are you going to be economically out anything, or is it just going to be pretty smooth?
So the other driver's insurance has paid for the full repair cost of the vehicle. And last night I sent a message to Progressive asking for diminished value claim on the car as well. And I copied my attorney. So we'll see what offer they make me on diminished value. Because now I'm driving a wrecked car that I didn't wreck. And the irony is the day that it wrecked, it was brand new 2 years. I had ordered it from the dealership. It was 2 years old that day. I took it in for a little warranty repair work. And I loved that car. I still do. But now I have a wrecked vehicle.
Oh.
Okay. How's the Jeep Compass? What year is it? I got to know. Do you know?
I think it was a 24.
Okay.
And
well,
I
I'm
think
not
it
getting
was
a
a
24.
I think it was a little bit of I think it was a souped up model too. So it was a little bit of a turbo. It was a little noisy.
Yeah, we don't need that. So, fantastic. Jameson is a former listener of the year. Are you the all-time greatest listener? What was your title?
Don't take that away from me.
He said correction.
And you're down in Texas, right?
That's right. North Texas, Dallas area.
Awesome. Jameson, this was quite the pleasure. Tell I don't want to. I was going to ask you like how your son's doing because he was like into investing, but I don't want to put you on the spot. Can you say something that won't sort of compromise his privacy or anything? Is he doing okay?
Everybody's doing great. So my son Lincoln is still a fan. He will enjoy the fact that this is happening. He's on spring break and sleeping down the hall right now. Sophomore in college. My daughter's a freshman in college. They both go to the same college, which is fun and awesome for us as parents because that makes it super easy. Go Horns.
I can't believe he's a sophomore in college. When did that happen? Have my podcast been going on that long?
Yes.
Yeah, we moved here in 2010, and he was a kindergartner, and now he's a sophomore in college.
All right, I'm not going to ask you to like take your laptop down the hall and I'll wake him up. I think that's a little on the nose. But Jameson, thanks for being a good sport, popping in. We're glad you're okay. We're glad the technician is okay. And look, if you're bored, send me the dash cam footage. I'd love to see it. See ya.
Bye,
Thanks,
Jason.
guys.
Thank you.
That was fun.
That was awesome.
He's great. Good hair too. What is happening?
Sorry.
We have a show. You're gonna just do the show today?
Yeah, no.
I like having people pop in like that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Did you ever watch Playtime with Pee-wee, the Pee-wee Herman show back in the day?
How old do you think I am?
Yeah, I know. So Pee-wee Herman show was like my favorite show as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's on CBS Saturday mornings when there would be good shows on Saturday mornings for children. And he would just have random characters pop in, Pee-wee's Playhouse. He would just have people pop in like the regular characters and they'd say, hello, Pee-wee. And that was just like that. Jameson was Cherry, who was the chair that Pee-wee just sat in. I don't know what's happening. All right, let's do a show. Kristen, do you like the pre-show? It's like, you know what? I think it's gonna be like a 50-minute show.
Yeah, you're like, I think we'll be in and out today.
Yeah, none of this 70-minute garbage. Yeah.
Alert, alert. It's time for a radio segment.
This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete with a K. You place it at petetheplanner.com. Kristen, with a K, joins me. Dame is on parenting duty today. Kristen, hello.
Hello.
For those that don't know, on the radio at least, Kristen bought a home this week, so we're very excited for her. We'll hear more trials and tribulations and successes about that home purchase process over the next several months, and we will also deliver her the show donkeys that we have promised for her farm property. Is that right, Kristen?
That is right. I cannot wait for delivery day.
Delivery day. Donkey delivery day is the triple D, as they call it. Okay, listen. So today, the topic is quite simple. Calling it trapped at the bottom. The science behind staying broke. Kristen, in some sort of very over-distilled sense, this is a discussion of the haves and have-nots, is it not?
Oh, that
I
doesn't
know.
sound as good.
I know, but like if our hope today is this of how we can help inform you about these things. Number one, our goal is always to be as intellectually honest as we can, right? Like that is important to me. We want to be as empathetic as we can. And we also want to acknowledge that we're going to be talking a little bit about poverty today. I've never been impoverished. And so the perspective I'm going to give you on poverty does not come from one of experience. And so I will speak for myself there. And Kristen's going to be giving her thoughts on this too. But Kristen, there was this idea starting all the way back with the Greatest Generation that each generation is, because of their parenting and because of the stability they create and because of the progressing economy, that each generation is going to be better off than the last. And that was true for generations, was it not?
I mean, it seems like that was true. If I look at my family, if I look at, anecdotally, those in my circle, their families, it seems true both in summary, but also in my anecdotal experience.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about my own family too, right? Okay, I'm thinking about the Greatest Generation in my family, the boomers, and I'm Gen X.
Maybe.
I'm that forgotten little ditty, whatever it is. Then my kids are Gen Z.
Your kids are Gen Z.
Okay, so like that progression is quite possible in my family, but I am wondering, is that an exception to a rule? Because I just know this: if you don't come from wealth or an upper middle class family, the chances of surpassing the stability of your family is harder than it's ever been before. And we're going to walk through that today. Like, why is that? And how much of the American dream of being able to create a life for yourself, is it actually harder than it used to be? And I would also note, Kristen, as I always say, we're not talking politics. This is absent of any presidential administration. I literally don't think it matters. We're talking about the economy in 2023. It doesn't matter because we're just talking about sort of this 5 to 10 year period we're in. Are those fair ground rules? Do you want to add anything else?
Totally fair ground rules. And I think that I would like to double down on one of the points that you made, which is that one of our hopes here is to really hone in on empathy, to understand different perspectives. Because if you're someone who can relate to this conversation, or you're on the opposite end of the spectrum saying this is unrelatable, it's about seeing other perspectives and how the circumstances that we are in as individuals shape the way we make decisions, and then our circumstances as a result. So it's about like walking a mile in someone else's shoes, essentially.
Yeah, what I found interesting in doing some research on this week, there's a couple things that really stuck out to me. There was a book called The Fading American Dream by Raj Chetty that found 50% of children born in the 80s grew to then earn more than their parents. Okay, 50%.
Okay.
Compared to 90% of children who were born in the 1940s. So a clean way to think about this is just add 25 years. Okay, so that's to say, or 30 years, what's it really matter? By the time someone is 30 years old, 50% of those people in the 1980s were earning more than their parents. Whereas because of how the economy was going and opportunity and a true chance at upward mobility, the 1940s was 90% of people were doing better than their parents. Now, one could argue it's the recovery of the Depression and it was wartime and all of that, but that's still upward mobility, is it not?
Yeah, it's significant upward mobility. And I think it would be really interesting. We're not quite to the point where we could probably see this data yet to see for that next generation, what does that look like? So if we're looking at that would be children born in, yeah, we wouldn't be there yet because there's a 40-year gap there. But I mean, I don't know that we would see even 50% growth.
No way. There's no way. And I also note a couple other things. The number of years a person has worked or works has evolved.
True.
I'll note that I always come back to pensions. This show should just be called Pension the Planner. Mm-hmm. The number of pensions people had during this time allowed them to live a more fruitful life, where now if you do it, you sacrifice your retirement.
You know, and what's really interesting about this is children born in the 40s versus the 80s, and then the reality of what the difference in single versus dual income households, how much that would have changed in that time frame. And then to say you still weren't out earning your parents, that number has to be significant.
Kristen, that is an absolutely fascinating point. Okay, so I'm going to go back in my family here. Greatest generation. Grandpa worked at GM. In the early 80s, my grandma started a floral business, right? So grandpa was retired. She wanted to hang out with him. So she started a floral, probably, I don't know. That's how the done men are. We're not really that good of a time at home. And then she started a business. So, and I guess she worked a little bit, but she was raising 8 kids. So that we'll still get to call that a one income household. Both my parents worked, but my dad was far and away the primary breadwinner. My mom worked at a nurse at a school, and it was a different role back then. It was a much different role back then. So that's still a one income household. But now in this generation, there's so many 2 income households that it should surpass. It should allow you to afford the home that is the equivalent that it was in the 80s. But as you're going to hear throughout this episode, that ain't happening.
No, it's definitely not.
You know what stuck out to me with the research this week on this? And I kind of knew this intrinsically, I just hadn't really put it into words, is the idea that economic mobility is so highly correlated with geography and zip codes specifically.
See, I kind of struggle with that one because it's like you make more, but it costs more to live. That one is hard for my brain to distill down to a place where I agree that geography is as important as some of the data suggests that it is.
Well, I think you and I can make the rules here. I mean, I think you and I can maybe choose a few elements of we'll call it economic stability. Here are 3 that I would recommend. Feel free to strike them or add some. I've got wages,
Mm-hmm.
I've got assets or ability to accumulate assets, and then I've got cost of living. So those are sort of the three that I'm willing to do. Do you want to add any to that?
I don't know that I would say assets in general as much as I would say homeownership. I think homeownership is really the key in that.
Well, I would push back and say the net worth, because I think the amount of student loans, which we're going to talk a lot about here, impact that too. Is that if a person has student loans and another person doesn't, then the chances of economic mobility are significant. So that's what we're doing today. Just sort of a study of economics here on the Pete the Planner Show. Kristen Elanius, new homeowner, who joins me, and coming back after the break, why is it so hard to climb the ladder? That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. All right, Jameson just told us that he sent us the dash cam video, which is to say, Jameson, I just shoot straight with me. Can I play it on the air right now or not?
Oh, no.
If the answer is no, it's no, and I'm not going to push you. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. But like, if there's like a lawsuit going, and like, I don't want to mess it up. But if you don't think it matters, given that this is a top 1% podcast and sure. Oh my gosh, here we go. This just got so good. Oh, it says it's not that sexy. All good dash cam videos are sexy. Okay, hold on, everybody.
Jameson has me rethinking whether I need a dash cam.
I feel, well, here's the thing, what I've learned about meeting real people. Dame has me thinking I need to know how to defend my family. Your special friend has me thinking I need to like carry a flashlight and know my way around a side of beef. And then this situation with Jameson, it's like, well, I probably need to know what's going on. Okay. Jameson says everyone should have a dash cam video. Just turn off the audio and speed limit. That's fair. Okay, here we go. I am going to now play. Oh, this is the greatest show. So now, by the way, everybody, if you don't watch this show, you should. Like, you shouldn't just listen to the podcast. You should go to youtube.com/Pete the Planner and watch this. This is at the 28 minute mark of the show. And here is Jameson's accident. Here we go. Oh God, this is the best thing we've ever done. Oh my gosh. This is,
okay.
See, Brian Pinkins knows this is exciting. Here we go.
There's no audio, right?
There's no audio.
Okay.
I
feel like we're going pretty fast.
Yeah, that's why you take off the miles per hour. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Is someone going to pull out? Oh, someone's going to turn over into his lane. There it is. No. Oh my gosh.
No.
That truck just lit up the
Was trying to
2-year-old car.
3 lanes of traffic. He had no business doing that.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm going to have to replay that moment. Okay, here. Okay. We can go frame by frame. Okay. Oh, it doesn't work that way on this feed. Okay. Anyway, here we go. Car is speeding up. I've got the longitude, latitude of this. Okay. Oh no, this is post-accident. This is post-accident.
Yeah, we're past it.
Yeah, this is turning into bad podcasting at this point.
Oh, no.
So he goes and pulls off. Why does he get Chick-fil-A? That's weird. And who is the group of women in the car? I'm just kidding. Okay. Wow, that was exciting. What a show we have here. I can just see people turning off the podcast. Thanks, Jameson. Everyone, this is why Jameson's the all-time best listener.
That is true.
He's given us 2 amazing pieces of content. And by the way, the rest of you, what have you done?
Oh.
Nothing.
I didn't say that.
Okay, here we go. Let's pick up the segment. Kristen, we may not get out of here by 11:30. I have lunch with Chad today.
Sorry, Chad.
I know. He's probably glad I'm late. All right, so I got to get back in my life here. Okay, well, that was exciting. Jeez, and 3.
Alert, alert. It's time for a radio segment.
Back on the Pete the Planner Show. Kristen, we're talking about why it's really hard for the current generation to surpass their parents' generation from an economic stability standpoint. And before the segment broke into break, we talked about geography being an aspect of this. Kristen, I want you to think about whatever it is in your head of like a wealthy area to live,
Okay.
whatever it is. You don't have to say it out loud. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to say the ones I'm thinking out loud. Then I want you to think of an area that is tougher. Like it's just a tougher economic situation. I want you to think of those two situations.
Mm-hmm.
When a person is born in the nicer situation,
Mm-hmm.
right, and then the nicer area, they have a scientifically here, based on the research, they have a better chance of surpassing in maintaining financial stability. Whereas even in the poorer area, even though there's a lower income threshold that they have to surpass, it is tougher to do so. I find that fascinating.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I admit that was not the order in which I was thinking of this. I was thinking of as an adult, where I would choose to live or where I seek out job opportunity. I was not thinking of it from the position of where I am born and then how much more difficult it might be to move to a more affluent area because I lack economic resources. So I totally agree with you. I wasn't even in the same mindset on that one.
And then it goes so much deeper than that. It goes to, again, I'm hitting folks with some generalizations today, so I'm asking them for a little bit of grace. Don't light up my email. You can light up my email. You can tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. But just like, I'm not a complete moron here. I understand I'm making some generalities. In those poor areas, you're probably going to see lesser quality schools.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a fair assertion? Again, I'm trying not to get out over my skis, but that feels like a fair assertion.
I think for the most part, that's probably fair. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule, but we're talking, a school is funded by
Property taxes.
dollars, property taxes. So it's like, it would stand to reason that if areas are cheaper to live in, there's less income coming in to fund a public school.
Okay. So in that sense, I'm just taking it down a trail here. Then academically coming out with standardized testing, you're going to see lower scores. You're going to see lower opportunities to earn merit-based scholarships based on those standardized scores. So therefore, you're going to see going to lower quality, higher education institutions. You're going to see higher levels of student loans that then anchor down the next generation and pulls them back down to the generation that raised them. And then, Kristen, when that happens for 2 generations or 3 generations, it actually gets worse. It doesn't ease because of how fast the price of college is going up. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, and we see that in some of the data that we're able to collect at YML is that there is a really startling amount of student loans that are owed by I think we do it in 10-year windows for persons who are nearing retirement. And our VP of product came to me and he's like, "How is this number so high?" I said, "It's Parent Plus loans."
Yeah. So thank you. Please go on that and talk about how this makes the problem even worse.
Yeah, it makes the problem way worse because and we're not even talking about we're talking about middle Americans here who didn't have the money to save for their kids' education. They're presented with an opportunity to, as long as they are considered credit worthy, which is defined by DOE, student aid, is they can take out the entire cost of their child's education. So that's their tuition, that's their room and board. And so then that parent is straddled with that student loan debt to the tune of, it can be tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what's really concerning is when that is added to the fact that sometimes parents don't have their own student loans paid off before they start to finance their child's education.
So as we look at this too, Kristen, one of the elements that builds wealth and provides economic mobility, and we'll just call it a head start, inheritances, wealth transfer, down payment assistance, generous holiday gifts where someone's stroking a 4 to 5 figure check
Mhm.
And what's interesting, even on this podcast and radio show and live stream, I don't know, and it's circus, as people are listening to this and they're running my last few comments through their brain, some people are associating with them going, people write 4 or 5 figure checks around the holidays.
Mhm.
And other people are saying, oh yeah, I know what he's talking about.
Mhm.
Because at some point in time, when the oldest or older generation within your family is trying to do tax planning or trying to make the most out of the wealth they've been able to generate because they had a pension or because the cost of college when they went through college was so cheap, or the cost of housing when they bought their first house was so cheap, or any of those elements. So they start, it is financial planning. They start transferring assets in a legal, tax sensitive way. And if you don't have those assets or that wealth to transfer, once again, it's a complete disadvantage for the people that don't have it, Kristen.
Yeah, and if you're someone who doesn't have access to that wealth, to your point, you said there are people listening to this going, there are people out there writing these checks, just like, yeah, absolutely. And so I don't remember what the gift tax limit is for this year, Pete.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm
17
not right. I'm not
20%,
stroking any
maybe?
checks. I
But
just look old, you know?
but I mean, you could have a grandparent who is writing checks to the tune of 15 or more $1,000, to your point, to make sure that they are not paying taxes on their estate.
Yeah, it was not unusual to have someone in that greatest generation who worked for 30, 40 years with a modest income that somehow still had a $2-3 million nest egg by the time they passed away. And what's weird about that is if you sort of fast forward to today and you take what we'll call the equivalent inflation adjusted income for someone of the previous example of that older generation, and you play that thing out, Kristen, they're not having $2 to $3 million, not even close.
No, definitely not. Unless, to your earlier point, there was wealth transfer along the way. That makes a really big difference. Is if a grandparent or a parent left significant wealth, that maybe gets you to that point, but not when we're starting from zero. I don't think so.
Let me hit college a little bit more, and then after the break, we'll talk about some of these additional barriers and stagflation and cost of living and those sorts of things. The other element of college here is that for 30 years, at least, we had an incredibly intellectually dishonest conversation about a college education that, you have to have one.
Mhm.
You have to have one. And it's based on this idea that the Federal Reserve's research shows that a person with a college degree on average earns 84% more over their lifetime than those with only a high school diploma. However, that data also includes people that got a college education paid for by someone else
Right.
and or paid for their own college education when it was inexpensive to pay for college education. So this is interesting, but it's especially true when someone else paid for your college education. So Kristen, it drives a deeper wedge, which has me resurfacing what's been happening in the last 5 to 10 years, where people have been saying, you don't have to go to college.
Right.
You don't have to go to college. And you don't even have to say go in the trades. Go to a programming school. Go learn to code. Like, you don't need a college degree to do that. You don't need the debt, and you can start earning big bucks immediately.
Exactly.
Thank you for saying exactly with 10 seconds left in the segment. That is a
Sorry.
professional co-host right there. All right, coming back after the break, more of this. What's next? What are you to do right here on the Pete the Planner show? Are you thinking about getting a dash cam now?
For real.
I totally am. All right, so guys, I have a new camera this week, as if you can't tell, because
The lighting is poor.
the lighting's weird. And look, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm also wearing like a workout shirt today for no particular reason other than I did work out at 5 this morning. But
Hopefully that's a different shirt.
oh, that's a good question. It is a different shirt.
Good deal.
I just wanted to be comfortable. And my studio's hot. Must be the lighting. You're going to get a dash cam, right?
I just feel like I have to have one now.
I kind of feel that way. And I'm going to go home and talk to Mrs. Planner about it. And I'm gonna have to make her watch the show to
Oh,
to
man.
know that that's gonna go. What are you doing tonight, by the way? Are you doing anything fun? Because I gotta tell you what I'm doing. But what are you doing?
I'm doing a final walkthrough of my house for the people who are buying it.
Okay, so that one. Okay, we're knocking on. Do we have any wood? Do you have any wood?
My desk is like particle board or something. I don't know what this is. This is not.
Yeah.
wood.
Okay. That feeling pretty good about that.
I feel pretty good about it.
By the way, those watching on the live stream
Oh, I have one of those.
got the old school Pete the Planner swag. Well, I woke up made this coffee at home. Pete the Planner says this makes me a financial genius coffee tumbler. It's a little passive aggressive now that I think about it, you
A
know?
little. It doesn't feel as on brand as
I totally agree.
I'm like, did he say that?
No,
Like,
I mean, I look, I'm telling you, half my time when I'm driving around in my car without a dash cam, I'm just thinking of all the dumb things I've said professionally. Here we go. This is interesting. We just bought our second Nissan Rogue. My daughter buying my 2019, and we really like them. See, Dame tried to talk me. Didn't Dame try to talk me down from Nissans?
I thought Nissans and transmissions were like Dame was upset about that.
Dame gets upset about things.
Indeed,
does.
He does.
But you know what? I like the look at those things.
I do too.
I like them. I like the Hyundai Kona,
I
but
don't
it
know.
sits a little low.
No, see, I don't know. I like the new. This would probably be too new. I think the body style changed outside of your year, but a Chevy Blazer.
This body style's changed as well. 1977.
How's that going, by the way? Not
Good.
that we have any time, but
Yeah. So still working out 3 days a week, first thing in the morning. Eating's okay,
yeah.
but I'm definitely getting stronger.
Nice.
I feel
The Greek
trimmer.
yogurt.
Greek yogurt. I just had some for the show. It's a little game changer. I'll say this: my trainer's changing gyms
Oh,
across the street from the office,
oh, so nice.
which I might start doing 5 days a week now. Just go there. Got my shower stall. You know what I'm saying? But then I'll come in with wet hair, and that feels unprofessional.
That's true. That's tough.
Jameson he's just laying down the gauntlet of the world's greatest listener. Had a good friend with nightmare transmission issues on a Rogue, but hers was probably a 2015 or 2016. Jameson, 3 pieces of content today. The rest of y'all sleeping. Okay, let's get back to the show.
Alert, alert. It's time for a radio segment.
Back on the Pete the Planner show, talking about how it actually is harder to get ahead today. Chris, I don't know about you, but when you get out of college, in any way did it ever sort of go through your head of like, how am I going to get ahead? Was that like that jargon still around for you?
It was, but also as someone who's very type A and strives for overachievement, it wasn't a question of like, will I or can I? It was just like, I am going to do this and I better figure out a way how.
That you literally just described your personality in a nutshell.
That's me.
I am going to do this and I'm going to figure out how. That's what Elanius means in German.
It does, yes.
Is it a German name?
Depends on who you ask. My family's from Sweden, but apparently the last name is not Swedish, so don't ask me.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know.
terrified. Okay, so we're going to talk about like what can a person do to try to game the system to possibly, I'm not going to say cheat because it's not a negative thing, but like how can they overcome the natural barriers that exist here? We're going to give some ideas. And I want to be sensitive to the fact that like these are just ideas. This is not gospel. So, Kristen, when you think about if a person wants their family, their offspring, your puppies that you've got there behind you to have a better financial life than themselves, like what do you do? Where do you start?
Pete, a conversation that our team of financial experts has been having a lot is you have to, of course, think about you and provide for today's version of you, right? Like Pete and Kristen, as we sit here today, but also you have to be able to think about what you can do today to make future Kristen's life better and easier. And when we think about ourselves in that context to say, hey, if I don't do this today, or if I make this decision today, I can make things easier for myself in the future, just thinking through that mindset makes such a big difference in our personal financial decision making.
Yeah, if your goal, as you're talking there, it triggered something where this guidance that I've given for years to people was never through the lens of a person's primary goal being economic mobility for their offspring, right? So here's the piece of advice I've given. Deal with retirement if you can only deal with one between retirement and college. Retirement is your priority, right? That's a piece of advice I've given for 20 years. But if a person's primary goal is economic mobility for their kids, no matter how probably unpragmatic that is, then saving for college actually will provide economic mobility, will it not?
It can, but as someone who spends so much time in the behavior side of this, my immediate thought is what is called financial enmeshment, which is where the essentially the concerns, the personal financial concerns of what should be separate individuals, they become too intertwined. And I think that that's then where we start to see children who feel like because mom and dad sacrificed for me, now I have this level of duty to them from a financial perspective. And then you have this like sandwich generation feel from a personal finance perspective. That one's hard.
How about, and again, this one might be, I'm curious on your perspective. You don't have human children, so I'm curious on your perspective here. What about just going to living in a geographic area that forces your kids to go to better schools? What do you think about that?
I mean, I'm not super well versed in what that does or doesn't look like as far as like housing costs and things like that. But I think people, that's a common tactic, right? That people try to find a school district that's better for their children so that they have more educational opportunities that hopefully yield to better economic outcomes as adults.
Yeah. This is where, again, if you're just joining us on the Pizza Planner Show today, we're talking about why it's so hard for economic mobility to be a repeatable process these days. And we're trying to do so checking our privilege a bit at the door, right? Like we're sort of waxing poetic at this point. Kristen, how about this idea that it's a keeping up with the Joneses thought, sort of. Okay, so work with me. I'm working this out loud, which never works well. A wealthy person, whatever, has a car, has a big screen TV, has the latest iPhone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who is below average income in the United States has potentially, especially if you proportionally, still a pretty good car,
Mm-hmm.
same TV, same iPhone.
Okay.
Right. And what the argument that I'm not sure I know I'm making is 40 years ago, I'm not sure that was true. Whatever the equivalent was of car payment, iPhone TV in 1982, whatever, I'm not sure that holds water, right?
That's really an interesting point because and some of it is like we don't necessarily have as many choices. Like in the world we live in, like your phone, the technology, it'll stop working eventually. Like you can only let your phone go for so long before there aren't going to be upgrades for it or software updates for it. And so in some ways we're forced to just like lead lifestyles that are a little more expensive to say that you could do without basic utilities that 20 years ago you could certainly do without. I mean, I grew up in a home that had dial-up internet and that was like a really big deal for where I lived at the time. But like you couldn't go without internet now, especially if you had kids. How are your kids supposed to like do their homework without internet?
It's true. And I think, here comes the old man in me. I mean, for those watching the live stream, they've been seeing this person for 49 minutes and 38 seconds, but now you're going to hear him. And if you are at that average income level or below, every time you employ convenience, you get further behind. Okay. So wealthy family, we're getting DoorDash tonight, comes in. at below average income level in the country, getting DoorDash, terrible decision.
Mm-hmm.
Quite literally an awful decision. And we're not calling anyone dumb. We're not saying only eat rice and beans. We're not saying that. We're just saying economic mobility is damaged when someone tries to live the same lifestyle that they aspire to live but can't.
Mm.
You know, and I think, oh man, I'm so old. I'm going to get a hip replacement right after the show today. I don't need one, but it just feels appropriate. Here's the thing. Social media makes it worse.
Oh my.
Instagram alone is one of the reasons why economic mobility is not as possible as it used to be.
I don't know if I would quite go that far.
Yes,
But
it's the gospel.
But I do agree that convenience spending is a huge barrier. We see that each and every day in our work, that convenience spending does not allow us to move the needle on our financial stability and confidence. And that is like almost independent of your current economic stability.
Yeah, again, we've been doing this for a really long time. And what's interesting is I'm not saying someone getting DoorDash when they make below the national average of income I am saying it's a bad idea. But what I'm saying is it will prevent chances of economic mobility. Like it is literally one of those things that will hold you and your family back. And that is harsh. And it might seem accusatory, but man, it's just true. It just, and the same thing. It's like, okay, well, I heard my kid needs to go to college. We're going to go to college. They're taking out a bunch of student loans. We're taking out a bunch of student loans. Also hurts economic mobility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it absolutely does.
Better solution. Find a high paying, I don't want to go work in the trades, like, which by the way is brilliant, but possibly try to start a career without the debt. I don't know. I know we came in today trying to shed light on. I feel like we did. It's still frustrating.
Right.
Because there's just, I don't want to say there's no hope. That's not where we're going. Anyway, after the break, Blom and news right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner.
In the comments, Jan says you pay with time when you don't have the money.
Yeah. Convenience is exchanging money for time.
Mm-hmm.
Jan Champ. Jan Champ. He's got like a name of like a watch brand that you can't afford or pronounce. Oh, this? Jan Champ. It's Jan Champ.
What do you mean?
Yes, we know it's Ian Champ. We know.
He calls you that every week. Ian.
I know. I call you Jan every week, Ian. Have you not caught on to that?
He thought you were talking to somebody else this whole time.
There was a Pacer, Indiana Pacer. A few years ago named it was Ian Mahimi, but it was Jan Mahimi because he was French, I think, or Senegalese. I don't know. Yeah, Jan Mahimi. So now I call everyone. No one cares. I need a button.
I think we're going to be out of here in 55 minutes.
No, we're not. What are you talking about? Oh, you're mocking me. You're mocking me. That was an interesting conversation, though, was it not?
I think it was. I don't know. You can put as many disclaimers or caveats or calls for empathy as possible. There will still be people who feel like we didn't land the plane or that we said something that we shouldn't have. But I think for the most part, I'm happy with it.
Of course. All right, let's start the segment. You ready? Get your news kind of ready?
I suppose. I'm no Damien.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste money of the week, right here on the Pete the Planner show, is the Uncharted Supply Base Camp 30-liter Yeti survival system. No one wants to be in a survival situation, but natural disasters, civil unrest, I'm reading this, and other calamities.
Time out.
Every time I read the word calamities, I first get to calamari.
That's valid.
Ensure you and And up to 3 others are prepared to make it through with this survival kit. If you're a
Time out.
if you're a family of 5, you're just like, well,
Sorry.
here. Items ranging from goggles, gloves, and masks to a shovel, water filter, multi-tool are included and conveniently housed inside a 30-liter Yeti loadout go box that's waterproof and dustproof to keep the contents protected until you hopefully don't need them. Okay. I want you to know I did some additional research on this. I took all of the items that are in here and then I priced them using AI on Amazon to know what would the contents be
Yep.
if you bought them individually. Yeah.
Okay.
So
what's the premium for the convenience of having them all packaged together?
by Yeti. Okay. So what do you think this costs?
This is, gosh, Yeti products are so expensive. This is a $650 survival kit.
Wow, man. With Dame not here, your guesses actually get better. $769. Now, here's the crazy part, Kristen. I priced this for the contents alone, $696 on Amazon.
Oh?
So this actually is a good deal.
What?
If you're worried about civil unrest or calamari, this is an amazing deal for you. Kristen, what's in the news this week?
Most Americans want to limit the prize for dominating your March Madness pool to bragging rights and backslaps at the next office happy hour. A survey from the Associated Press, NORC Center for Public Affairs Research, that's a mouthful, shows that only 4 out of 10 U.S. adults think wagering on college sports should be legal. They're more amenable to gambling on professional sports. 6 out of 10 support that being legal. Since the Supreme Court ruling paved the way for states to legalize sports books in 2018, betting on sports is now legal in 38 states.
I was driving the carpool to soccer training last night with the boys, 3 12-year-old boys.
No, my.
And they're talking about their brackets, of course, because that's what 12-year-old boys do, and our entire sales team. And one of them was like, yeah, the person that loses our bracket has to shave their head. And all the guys were like, oh no. Like these 3 kids with like cool hairstyles. I'm driving, a bald man driving. They're like, that'd be terrible. Oh, you'd be bald. And I just sort of turn around. I was like, and they're like, oh, sorry, Pete. And I was like, come on. All this anti-bald language around here.
That's so. Is Deshaun still crushing everyone in our work bracket?
I know it's my age as I don't even participate in brackets anymore.
What?
I don't care. I got stuff. I think I lift a lot now.
It took 2 minutes.
What else is in the news?
Klarna, the buy now, pay later lender that's headed for an initial public offering, IPO, said on Thursday that it signed on DoorDash as a partner, another sign of momentum for public market investors. It's DoorDash's first buy now, pay later alliance in the US and gives users of the restaurant delivery service a new way to pay for meals and products. Klarna said in a press release that DoorDash customers will be able to pay in full at checkout, split payments into 4 equal interest-free installments, or defer to dates that align conveniently with payday schedules. That's right, quarterly payments for a quarter pounder.
Okay, I just have to say that quarterly payments for a quarter pounder is my joke because Dame hit me up this week when he wrote this news segment and he said, okay, give me a closing joke. Right now, what I have is payments will now stick around longer than your heartburn from the late night chicken wing delivery. And I said, and he said, what do you think? I said, quarterly payments for a quarter pounder? Genius. And I was thinking, you know what, man, if I could sell jokes on demand, I would totally do it. Like a Peanuts cartoon, like I'm handing out like a kissing booth, but they're kisses. Wait, they're jokes. That got weird. Kristen, what else in the news? Oh my God, what's happening?
So I actually was gonna dog on this joke.
Please.
And well, that's because Damien told me it was yours, but you revealed that it was yours. But can we back up for a second and talk about what a horrible idea this is?
Okay. Coming out of the segment talking about using convenience when you shouldn't, a pretty good sign of that is if you got to put your your burger sandwich on layaway.
That's
You know?
insane.
Yeah. Again, this is one of those things like I get upset when non-empathetic financial guidance sort of hits the mass media, like because it can be frustrating. And it can be tough guy like narrative and like haves and have-nots. But I'm just telling you, like if you're even considering putting your DoorDash on Klarna, just no.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath, I'm sure someone's going to email me a circumstance in which that makes sense. I don't know what it is because it is a terrible idea.
Yeah, and I get frustrated with brands that offer buy now, pay later that don't make sense. And I just wish that there was a way to like make change in that way because like there's just no reason why my Amazon cart should be offering me Affirm or like when I check out at a boutique online, they're offering to let me pay for this denim jacket in 4 payments.
How many denim jackets do you have?
3.
What?
I love denim.
You own a Canadian tuck shop.
I love denim.
By the way, that was not disparaging our Canadian neighbors. We love the Canadians. Thank you for your poutine. Speaking of, when Chad and I go to lunch today, I'm getting poutine because I worked out this morning. But I don't think it works that way. What else is in the news, Kristen?
If the Fed had a word of the day, it would have been uncertainty after this week's meeting. The central bank said it would leave interest rates unchanged, hovering around 4.5%, and that 2 rate cuts are still on the table at some point this year, but also said that it expects to see slower growth and higher inflation. On the surface, the Fed's decision seemed pretty uneventful, and the central bank projected 2 rate cuts for 2025 back in December. Economists didn't expect to see one come yesterday, but Fed Chair Jerome Powell, the king of we'll have to wait and see, doubled down, highlighting the uncertainty brought about by the Trump administration's attitude on trade, immigration, fiscal policy, and regulation.
So after that came out, President Trump said, I'm paraphrasing, cut rates now and it will ease the impact of tariffs.
Right.
And here's what's really interesting about that. I think he's actually right. I think if you did cut rates now, it would stimulate the economy and then lessen the feeling of the impact of tariffs. But I think it's still a bad idea. And that's the weird thing about economic policy is that you can get short-term results by doing the wrong thing. And so that was a weird one for me because he said it and he wants to weigh in on what the Fed does. And the Fed was like, we're good with our independence. But I was kind of like, he's kind of right, but I still don't think we should do it.
Yeah, that's kind of tough. Is like, hey, I'm putting pressure and it's like there's potential hurt. So why don't you provide some relief? I don't think it's supposed to go that way.
Yeah, it was interesting. You and I talked before the show, whether it's Department of Education going away or the Social Security concerns that, sometimes when we have these discussions, it's really easy to get caught up in like, they can't do that. I'm like, I don't care. Like our job is to tell you what to do if they do go away or like, well, how do you prevent it? So anyway, pretty good job not talking politics this week until the last minute of the show.
Look at us.
Dame may be back next week. Is that right?
That's what I hear.
Great. This has been the Pete the Planner Show. Sending good vibes. Good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner. Yeah, look, hour 4.
Pretty good.
Not 55 minutes. We got the dash cam videos today. Jameson joined us live on the air.
That was fun. Thank you,
What?
Jameson.
What do you get the Subway sandwich that you get that was like $11? What is it?
All Subway sandwiches are like $11 now. It's not just mine, but it's whatever their Italian is, like the pepperoni and salami.
We've talked sub shop rankings here recently on the show, haven't we?
Yeah.
Jimmy John's now has toasted sub options.
That's what I'm going to them for.
I understand, but I sort of stopped going to them because I got sick of just a cold sandwich. I had one of their toasted subs. It's pretty good.
And the kick and ranch is back too.
I do like the kick and ranch. There's a Midwestern discussion. Okay. Well, Chris, tonight, I didn't tell you what I'm doing tonight.
Oh, yes, please.
Friday night, Mrs. Plata and I going to a 7th grade band concert.
Ooh, look out.
We're driving to the east side of Carmel to see young Theodore compete in the Indiana State Music Association state concert. I don't know what it is. It's a competition. And for 4 minutes, so we'll sit there. I'll try to find a parking spot for several minutes prior to that. Of course, I'll back in so that when I leave, I don't risk someone running into me a la Jameson.
Is it ISMA State Solo and Ensemble, or is it like a state band? Is he playing by himself?
Wow.
There's a huge difference.
Kristen with the flex. Look, I'm going to be honest with you because I try to be.
Pete.
What? He's not solo. You don't want to hear Ted play his trombone solo. It sounds like
A
yaks
small
mating.
group, or is it their
No, it's
whole band?
the whole bunch of smelly kids.
Oh, interesting.
He has to wear all black. He looks like he works at a MAC cosmetics counter.
That's
And
awesome.
it's like a bad black sateen clip-on tie.
Yes,
Oh, it's so bad.
it's a rite of passage.
It is a rite of passage. I'm not being critical of it. It's just an observation. Okay. That's all I
What a
got.
fun Friday night. You love people and parking and out of tune instruments. This will be so great. For
You're
you.
actually pretty good. It's one of those things like you go and you're like, wow, they're a lot better than I expected. Ugh. Oh, well, okay. Good luck with your life. Everyone else, stay getting money.